Hello everyone. In this video we're going to pick up where we left off at the conclusion of the last one, and you'll see that I have the site pulled up, and what we want to do in this video is do some work on this navbar and add the top blue band that goes up here, and then I think we're going to vertically position these captions inside of the slideshow. So let's get right into it. The first thing we want to do is we want to do three things to this navbar. One, we want to align the content inside of it with the content that's down here at the bottom. The second thing we want to do is change the background so that it's not dark. We want to make it transparent so that we can see the image through it. And we want to get rid of this search box because we don't really need it for the design that we're doing. So I'm going to go over to the code and I'm going to make those adjustments to the code. And the first thing that I'm going to do here before I do any of that is I just want to remove this data-bs-theme attribute because we don't need it. And then what I want to do is on the navbar I want to do a change to the background. So I'm going to change it from dark to transparent, and I'm going to save that. And what that'll do is that will get rid of the dark background and make it see-through. If we change this container fluid to just container, that will align the content with the content that's under the slideshow. So that's the second thing we wanted to do. And then the third thing that we needed to do is just remove this form, this search form. So we've done those three things. So if we come back over here to our website, the design, and just refresh the page, you'll see that we now have a transparent navigation. It's aligned with the content and there is no search form. So now what we want to do is put this that top band across the top right here with some temporary text in it. So that's real simple to do. We just need to go right up above the nav element and we're going to put in a div, and I'm going to call my div, I'm going to give it an ID of top-band, and I'm just going to add that there. Now inside the top band we want to create a container like this one has, so that the content will be aligned with these. So let's put a div in there with a class of container. And then inside of that we want to create a row, and the reason why we're creating that row is because we're going to create two columns, and the first one's going to be, it's going to take up 9 segments, and the second one is going to take up 3. So now we have two columns inside of a row. One of them is 9 segments wide and the other one is 3 segments wide. Now if we were to go look at this, we would not see, well, we might see a space. Let's just go take a look. So if we refresh this, it doesn't look like anything has happened even though we've added code. And the reason why is because we don't have anything inside of this top band and we haven't styled it. So let's go back over and do those two things. First of all, we need to add a class to the top band. Actually, we need to add two classes. We need to add one for the background color. We're going to make it BG primary so that it's blue on the background, and we need the text to be white. So we have white text on a blue background. Now the next thing, we need to put our content in there. So the first, if you look at the example, the first one has a house and then an address, and then it's got a little bit of spacing there, and then it's got a phone icon and then a phone number, and then over here it's got the social media links. And what we're going to do is we're going to use a feature of Bootstrap 5 called stacks to accomplish this. And let me just show you. I'm going to go to getbootstrap.com and I'm going to search for stacks, and we're just going to grab this because we're going to use, actually we want this one. We're basically going to create an H stack with a gap of 3, and we might drop that down to 2. So I'm just going to copy that out of there and then go over to my code, and I'm going to paste it in. Just going to paste it in right there. We don't need these paddings, so I'm going to remove those. And then inside here, we don't even need that. Really, we don't even need the divs. All we need is 3 anchor tags. And those anchor tags are going to have a Bootstrap icon in each one of them. And the Bootstrap icon is going to be different for each social media platform that we use, but I'm just going to make them all the same here for now. This second one we're going to make Facebook. The third one we'll make how about YouTube, and then this last one we'll make LinkedIn, just to give us something to keep our place. And the other thing is, right before this there is the call to action, follow us. So let's see what that looks like. These are all inline elements, and so it should be alright for us to just put follow us in there. Let's go here and hit refresh, and you'll see that we have we didn't put our address in, so, and I think I put those in the wrong, I did. So we want this whole chunk of code, instead of having that in the 9 width column, we want that in the 3. That was my mistake. I put it in the wrong spot. We want it right here is where we want it. But it does look like it's going to work. The only thing that I couldn't see any of these icons because we need to add a class to each of these anchor tags. So for each of the anchor tags, for each of these anchor tags that we have in our code, we need to add a class of text-white, and now we should be able to see them. So if we go back over to our browser and then refresh, you'll see now we have our social media links. You'll notice though that when I hover over them, they're not interactive, and that's because this element here is positioned right up against the one above it, and so we need to fix that. So to do that, we just want to come over to our code and come down to the Navbar, and what we need to do is just put a margin on. We want to do a margin top, and we want to give it a value of 5, the highest that you can give it. So now what we've done is we've pushed the navigation bar, which has that logo in it, we've pushed this down. So when I refresh this page, you'll see that now it's way down here. However, when I scroll, as you can see, it's still staying in the window, and that's because the position is fixed, and it's fixed to the top of the browser window. So to change that, we just come over here, and in our custom SCSS file, you may have some code in there in yours, and if you do, you can just clear it out because it should be empty right now, but you might have code left over from the last video. But what we want to do is we want to target the Navbar class, and we only want to target the ones that have a class. They have a Navbar class, and they also have a class of fixed-top. And what we're going to do is we're going to change the positioning. We're going to change the position from fixed to absolute. So now that we have absolute set for the positioning, we can save that, and then we want to open up your PowerShell, or if you're using a Unix-like system, you can open up your terminal and then go into your project folder and run dart sas, run that command, and generate your new CSS. And now when we come over to the page and refresh it, now when we scroll, you'll see the logo, the whole Navbar actually scrolls with the rest of the page. So that takes care of that. The other thing that we want to do is we want to add the address in here, and then we want to create the padding for the top bar that we just created. So let's do that real quick. Let's go into our code, into our HTML, and then up here what we're going to do is we're going to create two span elements. And I'm just going to create one and duplicate it. And then each one of these span elements are going to have an ID. And the first one I'm going to call top-address. And the second one I'm going to call top-phone. And as you might have guessed, what we're going to put in here is we're going to put in the address, but we're going to precede that with a Bootstrap icon. And the Bootstrap icon that we're going to use is called bi-house for now. We might change it later, but we're going to create this one and call it bi-house. And I'm just going to copy this element, and I'm going to paste it down here and change it from house to phone. And then up here we're just going to create an imaginary address. With an imaginary zip code. And then the phone number, we're going to create an imaginary phone number. And that should do it. If we go over and take a look and refresh the page, we now have an address and we have a phone number. There's a couple of things about this blue bar though that we want to change. First, we want to put a padding on the y-axis, the up and down axis. And then we want to create some more space between the address and the phone number. And we can do that. We can do both of those things just by putting some more classes on our existing HTML. The first one we want to do is we want to add a class to each of these two spans that we just created. So we're going to create a class here, and we're going to put a class on the phone as well. Now to put a margin on the right side of the address, we want to add the class margin end, E for end, margin end, or ME, and we want to give it a value of, I think I'm going to do 3 on this. And then down here, because we want it on the left side, we're going to do margin start, or MS, dash 3. We're going to do a 3 there as well. And then to put the vertical padding on the whole blue bar, we're just going to come up here to the top band, and we're going to add a class to it. And the class that we're going to add is py dash, let's do 2, py2, and we'll save that. And then if we go over and refresh the page, you'll see we now have our address, and we've got a nice little space between the phone number and the address, and our links. It looks about like our example. Obviously the font is not exactly the same, but that's easily fixable. We could change the font size in the blue band if we wanted to, but all in all, it's laid out virtually like the example. And we'll do a little bit more fine-tuning on this later on. But before we finish this video, let's get this caption for the carousel, let's get it pushed up closer to the middle. And we're going to do that with another override in our custom.scss folder. So if you come in here, we're going to add an override to the carousel dash caption class. And what we want to do is we want to override a couple of properties on this, because this is already defined in Bootstrap, but we want it to behave a little different. We want because in our example you'll see that this is right in the middle, so we kind of want to imitate that, follow that model. So to do that, we're just going to override the positioning, the vertical positioning that Bootstrap has set for the carousel caption. So we're going to set the bottom of that caption to 0, and then we're going to set the top of that caption to, I think 40% is what worked out. So if I save that, and then again we need to rerun the command to compile our CSS, because we are making the change to the SCSS file. And when you run that command, it will regenerate your CSS. And now when we go and look at the design, this, when I refresh the page, this should move up. Let's see what there we go. So we're getting closer. We've got pretty much most of the above the fold styled to match, well, not match, but to be very similar to this design. We could make some more adjustments to make it closer, but we're not trying to create an exact replica. We're just trying to follow the design principles to get our design looking like this one, and it's pretty close. So that's going to do it for this video, and I hope you're enjoying following along, and thanks for watching.